Excuse me, and we're back. Had a little lunch there, and we're back on with it on Spreaker. We're on with a new show talking about streaming services and devices, and I'm back here doing this episode on Anchor. We're just doing a second part of the episode where I'm going to talk about streaming services and devices. Now, I've used Roku on and off for years. I got my first one in 2012. No, it was 2011. And it was pretty rudimentary back then. And now I've updated it to a Roku TV. And it's really nice. You have pretty much every major service on Roku, save for hbo-max, that I talked about earlier. And for those of you listening on Spreaker, we talked about it on the earlier episode. Roku is the number one streaming device service that they've got right now. They've got TVs out. They've got the little things you can put into your USB device. Those things, you've got the full little disc thing you can put on your TV to plug in. So there are a variety of ways you can even put it on an old-fashioned TV if you've got the old I can't even think of what they're called, RCA connections, yellow, white, and red connections, which are basically the ones you put in for like the old VCR or DVD player or PlayStation or Xbox back in the day before HDTV became a thing. So yeah, you can even do that on Roku, and that's a big advantage for them because you could put it on your old school TVs and still get the benefit of watching streaming services, which is what I had back in the day before I bought a flat screen. And it was actually pretty cool. It's one of those things that you have an advantage there because you could do that and watch it on a regular old school TV, because you can find a big screen picture tube TV right now for real cheap. On yard sales and whatnot, and you could use it in a basement or something like that if you got a good internet connection. You could use that in a rec room or whatever, or and not have to pay a ton of money for a flat screen, although flat screens are really cheap nowadays. I mean, the 32-inch Roku TV I bought at Walmart was $99 at the time, and it was really, really good. It's really, really, really good. Picture quality is good. I didn't need anything really gigantic for the bedroom, so I got a 32-inch, and that's what I have in here. It's really nice. Put it on top of the chest of drawers, or dresser, as some of you people call it, and it really looks nice. So, now I have attached to it the Fire TV stick as well as the Chromecast. Now, Fire TV gives you a lot more flexibility. You can put on third-party apps that are unofficial, which are not technically supposed to be on there. The Roku, you can still do that, but it's harder to get on there. One of the ones I used to love on Roku was Nowhere TV, because you could stream a bunch of different things on it. They don't let you put that on there anymore. And unfortunately, for those of us who liked it, the option's not there. Now, obviously, with Chromecast, you have the option of streaming anything from your phone or your TV or tablet straight to your TV through the Chromecast, which is a really nice option, especially for those of you watching HBO-Max, because you can't do that with Roku and Fire TV right now. So, yeah, that's a real bummer for that, but let's say you've got a really nice YouTube video you want to watch on your big screen. All you have to do is put in your Chromecast, or you can actually do it through your Roku TV and all of that. But Chromecast is a good option if you have a TV that you don't have a Roku and all that. Chromecast is pretty cheap, $35. But then again, Roku devices are not really that expensive anyway. So you can do the same thing for that. But it's nice to have it, especially if you're doing it straight from, say, a website video or something like that, and you can just pop it up there, and it's really, really cool to do. Fire TV gives you a lot of options, especially if you're like me and you like to kind of explore things like stuff that you can watch on your TV that you can't necessarily get through DirecTV or Dish or your local cable system, whatnot. I don't know if it's my internet or if it's the Fire Stick I have, but I don't have the performance out of my Fire Stick that I like. So I'm kind of bummed out about that. So I'm going to say the Fire Stick experience for me has not been a positive one, although I will temper that by saying the internet, which I'm living out in the boondocks, it's not exactly the greatest right now. So I will temper my opinion about that, at least for right now. But if you want my honest opinion about the streaming devices, Roku is your best bet. If you want flexibility to where you can get those quote illegal streams and such, Fire TV is your best bet. And obviously you've got Chromecast out there, which you can do from like your laptop, your tablet, your cell phone, what have you. And the cool thing I've got also in my little workplace desk thing, work office, whatever you want to call it, I've got a Google Nest Hub as well as a Amazon Echo Show. Now, it's easier to project stuff straight to the Google Nest Hub because it's basically using a Google Cast. Amazon, the only things I can project there are, I think, Hulu. I don't know about Hulu, but Amazon Prime you can do, as well as Spotify. Now on to the streaming services themselves, and I've used pretty much all of them except for Showtime, and I really need to do the 30-day trial for Showtime. HBO-Max is a really nice, deep library, especially for those of us who like the CNN Decades miniseries from back in the day, just a few years ago. They're available there. There's a lot more to HBO Max than just HBO stuff. I highly recommend it. To me, it's one of those things that you don't necessarily have to have, but if you're really interested in taking a look at Game of Thrones or other series like The Sopranos, Oz, what have you, Westworld, things like that, that's a really good service to use. Now, I've not tried Showtime yet. Stars is like HBO. You also have some movies you can watch there. I've not really looked through their latest catalog yet, although you've got some DC movies there, which I don't know why they're going to continue the DC Universe service. I think it would be best just to bring that into HBO Max and go there, but that's just me. The Star service, you're mainly going there for movies. They do have some good TV series there. I've watched it. It's pretty good. I mainly like the historical dramas and stuff like that, and some sci-fi and things like that. But it's one of those things. The reason it's inexpensive as it is because Starz doesn't have the catalogs that Showtime and HBO have, especially HBO. And I think though, if you like, it's one of those things you can pop. The great thing about these streaming services is they're basically month to month. If you want to keep it on for a month, you can watch it, and then you can take it off, whatever, what have you, and all of that. And it's pretty good. Now, the only reason I even have Disney Plus, is because I've got it with a combination of that, HBO, Disney, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, which is a nice little package deal I've got. They really should keep it going. And in my honest opinion, they really ought to fold ESPN Plus into Disney Plus and just go ahead and call it a day. But there are going to be some ESPN people who are going like, I don't want the whole Disney catalog, I just want to watch sports. So I think that's a very smart move on their part because it keeps everything apart. And it makes a lot of sense from the perspective that you have this huge wealth of Disney material, but people are not going to want to just buy. They're going to still want to have access to the newer stuff. And it's interesting that Disney has only got like maybe one or two original series on there. I know The Mandalorian's out there. They may have one or two others, but here's an interesting thing about Disney Plus is that that's really the only original series they've got on right now, except there may be one or two more that I'm not aware of, but Star Wars is their big thing. Marvel's another big thing of theirs. I think they're going to be bringing out some more Marvel original stuff here in the next little bit. It's a very smart move to have that kind of deep catalog. Especially when you consider The Simpsons is like 30 seasons old and you can stream that forever, it seems like. So, you could make do with just Disney Plus and HBO-Max and you'd be good to go for a while there because HBO has the DC movies and such. And, I think that HBO Max has some original stuff that's coming out in the near future that will be interesting to see. CBS All-Access is out now. They obviously have Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard. Picard is interesting to say the least. It's definitely different from The Next Generation, which may be a plus and a minus in their book. Let me be the first to say I'm not a prude or anything like that, but to me, when it comes to Star Trek, do you really need the cursing? Do you really need to be kind of racy with Star Trek? Not really. Not really. I mean, you don't really need to go there, in my honest opinion. Same with Discovery. I think you could do the same things without being too racy and too violent and all that. You can kind of scale it back a little bit. But that's just me. Star Trek is trying to cater to a different audience these days that likes Game of Thrones, The Expanse, which has a little bit more spice, so to speak. So there is definitely that. Now, there's one that's coming out next month called Peacock. It's through NBC Universal. And theirs is going to be free, although they're going to have a premium service, which will give you extra content. The reason I bring that up is that it's going to be a challenge to Disney Plus / ABC, as well as CBS All-Access, because right now CBS All-Access you have to pay for it. That's like $4.99 a month, but you still have to do ads and all that. The thing about that is that if Peacock remains free, that's going to challenge all these other services to go, should we offer an ad-based service like Hulu once did, where you can watch these shows for free as long as you watch the ads, which will be an interesting thing to see. Now, with premium, I think you can take out those ads, or at least ads for the most part, and you can get access to different content and all this, so it won't be quite free, but you'll get a bulk of content on Peacock now. What all it is, I mean, I know Battlestar Galactica is going to be on there, both new and old, and a few other things. It'll be interesting to see how that turns out. That comes out on July 15th, if I'm not mistaken, maybe around that date. So we've got, 3 weeks or so before that happens, so yeah. It should be very interesting, to say the least. I really think that we're in the age right now where we are about to get rid of cable and satellite completely, unless they really change their tune. I remember, though, a time when cable and satellite TV were going to get rid of broadcast television completely. That hasn't happened. There was a time when television was supposed to get rid of radio completely. That didn't happen. So all this talk about streaming services getting done with cable and satellite. I don't think that's going to entirely happen, but what I think will happen is that those services will be moved on to the streaming services themselves. AT&T already has one out with AT&T. Used to be called DirecTV Now. Dish, I'm sure, will do the same thing in the near future. So basically, you can cut your cord, but you can still get the service at a cheaper rate. And that is, I think, what's going to happen, is that in the near future, you're going to have these spin-off services where you can kind of pick and choose what you want from month to month. Now, if you try and get them all together at one time, it's going to be just as expensive and not more expensive than cable. But the thing is about this, with these month-to-month services, is that you're not contractually bound to keep it for a year or so. You don't have to have physical equipment except for your router. And I think in the near future, all you'll need is your cell phone, because you'll be able to stream stuff, as data services expand, as capacity grows, you'll be able to stream your stuff on a hotspot through your phone. In some cases you can do that already, but AT&T is not letting these third-party services that use their towers do it. I'm looking at you, Wing. That's the reason I got you, was for that. Just as when I was getting it, they put the clamps down. You cannot stream up to hotspot past 22 gig or something like that. Boo-hoo. Okay. So yeah, but in the near future, I'd say within the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to have unlimited hotspot through Straight Talk, Wing, other services and such, because AT&T and Verizon and such will want to do the same thing. That's going to be interesting for the local internet providers, because they're going to have to try and keep up, which pretty much they are. But it's going to be a great boon for places like where I live at, which all we can get is AT&T right now. There's Sky Runner that's more expensive and nominally the same quality, but it uses microwave towers and such, line of sight, things like that, which is a little bit better than AT&T. You obviously run into the fact that it'll be slowing down if it's cloudy and such, like with DirecTV. But I think in the near future, you're going to see a lot more changes in the streaming service industry. I think a lot of the stuff you're seeing now on cable television is going to come to the streaming services. I think that live television is going to be where it's at, will be the big boon for DirecTV and Dish Network as they're trying to make their way over. Same with SiriusXM. The only difference is, and I think this is where Starlink comes in through Elon Musk outfit, is that it's changing from where you're getting your signals from the satellite. Now you're getting internet from the satellite system. And when that comes online, and if you can get high-speed internet by bouncing a signal up into a satellite and coming back down, and especially if it works during inclement weather, that changes the ball game tremendously, especially if you live out in the boondocks like I do. Because it means you can get high-quality service without a ton of equipment, without being connected to a wire that can be cut by somebody 3 miles down the road, and you're screwed, because I remember 30 years ago, I needed to watch something for college at the time, and the transformer, didn't blow, it was a cable got knocked out from the cable office. So yeah, that sucked, and we didn't have an antenna at the time, so I was kind of like, luckily it was one of those things that was so widespread that the professor gave us an extension on it. So, yeah, streaming services are going to be the big thing in the near future. I look forward to the day that we are seeing more stuff online like that, because it's stuff you can take with you on a tablet or a cell phone, or you can do more on your little, Google Nest Hub, or Amazon Echo Show, things like that. And yeah, it's a very cool time to be living in, because I'm old enough to remember when you can only get 3 networks. There were no VCRs, so if you missed it, you missed it, and you had to hope you caught it on a rerun, and that would be months down the road. So nowadays you can watch old shows until your heart's content and be very, very fulfilled that way. Now, before I leave, I'm going to talk about new content in this age of COVID. Hollywood's starting to get back up and running, but there's always a risk they could be shut right back down. And with the fact they've got to put masks on in California now, that means that a lot of these studios are going, what are the rules for us? I mean, we're indoors, we're working. Are we supposed to keep masks on while we're doing these productions and such? That's going to be a very interesting thing, to say the least. I personally think that it's going to be a while before, quote-unquote, Hollywood's not one of these, is not a place anymore in the sense of the entertainment industry. It's basically a name for an industry. Movies, television production, stuff like that, it's going to be bogged down for a bit, because there are going to be regulations all over the place that they're different from one jurisdiction to another, one country to another, one state to another, one locality to another, depending on where you live at. So it will be interesting the next couple of years about seeing new content.